In this video, we're going to cover the use of cheats in XBSX 2.0 for Xbox Series X and S. Alright everybody, in this video we are covering cheats within XBSX 2.0, so this can cover anything from unlocking special things in your games, to using widescreen hacks, 60 FPS patches, as well as non-interlacing cheats. By default, PCSX2, and thus by extension XBSX 2.0, comes with a number of widescreen and non-interlacing cheats built in by default that you just have to put into the proper folder to work. As for the other cheats, they require a little bit more footwork, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now before we get started, this guide is assuming that you have followed my XBSX 2.0 install guide to get your BIOS games and folder directories set up on your USB drive. If you have not done this or you haven't installed XBSX 2.0 yet, link to this guide will be in the description below for you to follow along and get everything set up. Then you can follow along with this guide. And then also be sure to check out our ever-growing XBSX 2.0 coverage because there's lots of cool stuff you can do with it. Again, links to these will be in the description below. So the first thing we are going to do is get our widescreen codes and non-interlacing patches set up that come pre-installed with XBSX 2.0. To do this is relatively simple. You just need your XBSX 2.0 install file, the appx that you installed XBSX 2.0 with. If you don't still have this, you can just go back into Sir Mangler's GitHub page and download the latest release once again, so link will be in the description below for anyone that might have deleted this already. But once you have the appx bundle, you just need to extract it. So I use 7-zip for this process because it is easy. Just right click, 7-zip, and then just tell it to extract into its own subfolder. I believe other programs should work for this as well, but if they don't, just go ahead and download 7-zip. It's an awesome program. But anyway, inside the PCSX2 folder, you'll see a resources folder. And inside this folder, you'll see cheats non-interlace and cheats widescreen. So we just need to extract both of these folders. And now we have our non-interlacing patches and our widescreen patches that come built in with XBSX 2.0. So over on my Xbox USB drive, make sure you have this plugged into your computer. Go into your XBSX 2.0 folder here, and I'm going to do the no interlacing cheats first. So just going to open this up, copy all the files here, and paste them into my non-interlaced cheats folder. There we go. That is now good to go. And now the same thing with the widescreen cheats. I'm just gonna grab all these and put them in my widescreen cheats folder. And there we go. And with that, we are now done with the extracted XBSX 2.0 folder, so you can just go ahead and delete this stuff if you'd like to. But now for a quick demo. So back over on the Xbox, after getting that USB drive reconnected and opening up XBSX2, head down to your settings tab here and make sure you have enable per game settings turned on. That way you can enable different cheats and widescreen patches and things like that for certain games and not others, because some games have some compatibility issues with them, and having it enabled as a global default might not be the best. Or, you can enable everything by default and then you can turn it off for the games that aren't working with it. I mean, either way works. It's personal preference. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and load up a game here. So I'm just going to grab Ace Combat 5. Once you have your game loaded up, just go ahead and go into your quick menu here. Head down to Game Properties. And now from here, press your right bumper to head over to the Graphics Settings tab. And scroll down until you find Enable Widescreen Patches and No Interlacing Patches. There we go. So here we are with Ace Combat 5 using non-interlacing patches, and I guess it might have some widescreen patches enabled as well, but this game does have native 16:9 ratios built in the settings menu that you can change, so it's not the best widescreen code example, but the non-interlacing patch works great, and I friggin' love it. Now for another quick example here, Metal Gear Solid 3. This one does not have a built-in 16:9 aspect ratio, so let's see if there's a widescreen cheat built into this one. I believe there is. But same thing, Game Properties. Right bumper over to Graphics Settings, scroll down to Enable Widescreen Patches, and No Interlacing Patches. And then just go ahead and press B to head on out. And there we go, we can now see that the game is in widescreen and Snake isn't putting on a few extra pounds here, so we know it is working as intended. So there we go, Metal Gear Solid 3 in full widescreen. Now, not every game will have a built-in widescreen patch or non-interlacing patch, so you are going to need to search for some on games that are unsupported. So places like the PCSX2 widescreen game patches thread is a good place to start. Otherwise, Google, other places are going to be your friends here. And they should have those in Pnach format, so you can just add them to your Cheats widescreen folder. And then same thing with the non-interlacing patches. There is a forum thread on PCSX2 about them. So you can search through this and see if there's any games that might not be added into the official release that have been added on the forum. And then you just get those ones downloaded in Pnach format and added to your non-interlacing cheats folder as well. Alright, now let's talk about adding just your typical cheat codes into XBSX 2.0. So one of my favorite places to get game cheats is from gamehacking.org. Head over to their PlayStation 2 section, and then just go and find a game that you want to add cheats for. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some for Ace Combat 5 here. And you need to make sure that you're checking your region for proper code support here. Cheats aren't really cross-region, so you're going to need to search for your particular region. But up in the top right, you'll see that there is a formats list here. So if you click on this, there's typically a PCSX to Pnach file format that you could download the cheats in. And then for file name, you could just kind of choose whatever you want here. It doesn't matter. We're going to have to rename it anyway, but then just go ahead and click on download to download all of the cheats. And once you have the cheat file downloaded, you're free to begin editing it as you see fit. So for example, you could just open up a notepad, drag it in. Now to enable or disable cheats, you'll see that there is the name of the cheat with a comment making it so it's not seen by the game, followed by patch equals 1 and then the cheat code itself. So if you want to disable these cheats, you're going to have to manually go in and change them all to a 0 or delete the code itself. So it's quite a tedious process. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead to when I already have it edited the way I'd like. So that way y'all don't just have to sit here and watch me entering a bunch of zeros for a long time. So it's not fun. So basically, I'm just going to leave these two cheat codes here, primary missiles, secondary missiles, as well as this level completion code down here. There's one down here that lets you, there we go, press L1 and select to complete the mission. So I'm going to disable everything else but these three. But to get these usable within the emulator itself, we just need to rename the Pnach file after the game's CRC32 code. So the easiest way to find this is to load up your XBSX 2.0 install, head into your games list, and go down to the game in question, and you'll see the CRC code over there in the bottom right-hand corner. So for Ace Combat 5, it is 39B574F0. So I went ahead and got my Pnach file renamed after that. So now I'm just going to close out of XBSX2 and move my USB drive over to my computer to add the cheat file in. And now inside my Xbox USB drive, XBSX2 folder, cheats folder, I'm going to add in the Ace Combat 5 cheats file right there. And now we can begin testing it out. Now with the game loaded, just same deal as the widescreen cheats and non-interlaced cheats, head into the game properties menu here. Press right bumper to head over to emulation settings, and now just scroll down and enable cheats. There we go. All right, so here we are inside of our first level of Ace Combat 5 here. Cheat codes are enabled, so let's go ahead and test them out. So the first code that we enabled was infinite missiles, so we start with 52 on this difficulty setting. So there we go. We are able to just massively spam missiles, and it is working. We are not losing any of our missiles here. So that cheat code has enabled properly. And then we also had the infinite bombs, or secondary weapons rather, but as you can see, that is also working as intended. So we have successfully enabled those cheats. Now we also had that special one here of pressing, what was it, select an L1 to finish the mission. And there we go. So all of our cheats are activating as intended. Now, for any of you out there that don't want to manually edit the Pnach files in a text editor, there are options available to let you manage things, and one of the newest ones is this Pnach Manager from Candra AP. It's built using Unity, and it's got a pretty nice interface, and I've been giving it a shot over the last day or two, and it's been pretty interesting to work with. So it's available on Linux and Windows. So I'm just going to quickly demo using this program here. So I'm going to download it for Windows, and then we're also going to download the manager data here. So there we go. Both of those need to be downloaded. And once they are downloaded, just go ahead and get them extracted. There we go. So here is the extra data. Here is the program itself. So I'm just going to open this folder. And then inside the manager data folder here, you'll see that there's a database and resources folder. So I'm just going to add these into this folder so that way it's all just in one single folder here. But anyway, going to open up the Pnach Manager app. And so again, it's got a pretty nice interface here. It's built in Unity. So now we just need to set a couple directories. So first is our PCSX2 cheats folder path, or XPSX 2.0 in our case. So you can plug your USB drive back into your computer to easily set that to your cheats folder. So just click on the folder here, navigate to your Xbox's USB drive. So mine is G, so just navigate to where yours is. Find your XPSX2 folder, find your cheats folder, and then tell it to select the folder. And now for the database, go ahead and click on this. I have my folder on the desktop for demonstration purposes here, but head into your Pnach folder here and then choose the database folder. And then same thing with the resources folder. You're going to choose that you extracted earlier and add it into the Pnach Manager folder. So there we go. By default, there's a couple games built into the manager, not a whole lot added in, but there are some. But it's really easy to add in your own cheat files. So over on the right-hand side here, you'll see that there is an import JSON and import Pnach selection here. So if you download cheats that are in JSON format or Pnach format, both work. It will import them and it's able to use them and put them in the right format here. So let's go ahead and import my Ace Combat 5 Pnach file here that we already downloaded. So I'm just going to click on Import Pnach. I have it stored on the desktop, so there it is. So it has our game title, our game CRC, and then we also need the game's serial number. So this is the region code, I believe. So over on gamehacking.org or from your XPSX 2.0 games list, you can find the serial number. It's the region code followed by the game code. So I'm just going to download it, so I'm just going to copy it from gamehacking.org for this example, since I don't have my games list available to me. And then I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in right there and tell it to save. And now we see Ace Combat 5 right there. And you can open up the cheat right here. And it has all of the cheats available that you can now enable or disable. So they're all enabled for me by default right now. So let's just go ahead and disable these. Actually, here we go. Deselect all. Much quicker. And once you have everything set the way you would like, just go ahead and tell it to export to PCSX2. And it'll put it inside your cheats folder with the proper naming. All right, but let's go ahead and add another game. And the one that I'm interested in adding this time would be Need for Speed Underground. So it's not already in here. No, it's not. Good. All right. All right, so back over on gamehacking.org, Need for Speed Underground, NTSCU, that's the region for my game. There we go. So we want a PCSX2 Pnach format. Again, game name doesn't really matter, and I'm going to tell it to download. All right, and with that downloaded, we've got Need for Speed Underground. All right, so we're just going to tell it to import the Pnach file here. It's on my desktop, so Need for Speed Underground, there you are. And now we need to get the game CRC and game serial number. So again, the CRC can be obtained by looking at your games list on XBSX 2.0 itself. Gamehacking.org sometimes has the CRC as well, but sometimes it just says unknown, which is a little less helpful, but we can grab the region and game code here while we're at it. So I'm just going to need to grab the CRC for Need for Speed Underground. All right, so the CRC for my copy of Need for Speed Underground is CB99CD12. There we go. So went ahead and got that entered into our game CRC section here of adding the Need for Speed Underground cheat codes file. So just going to tell it to save. And there we go. It is now added in right here. And now I could go through and start selecting the cheats I want to use. Again, they are easily able to be toggled on or off just by selecting the plus button here. And once you have them all selected, you just click on Export to PCSX2, enable cheats in the selected game, and you are good to go. Now let's go ahead and talk about adding 60 FPS codes to your games. So I'm going to be using Need for Speed Underground as my example today because in our recent stream of it, we saw that it was running in 30 FPS, which was a little strange. So here we go. Need for Speed Underground is listed within the PCSX2 60 FPS thread. So I'll have a link to this in the description below, but you can always search with Google and find 60 FPS codes in different areas as well. But here we go. Here's the 60 FPS code. So we're just going to go ahead and copy that. All right, now that we got that copied, let's go ahead and add it in using cat Pnach Manager. Let's go cheat, add new. We'll paste in the code right here. We will name this code 60 FPS. Run game in 60 FPS. There we go. Now the code is not usable in its current form. If we try, it'll just give us an error. So what we have to do is add in the same kind of info we see in the normal Pnach files here. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up Notepad to make my life a little bit easier. Oops. So I'm just going to grab one of these other codes, just like this. Going to go down a line and paste it in. And now I'm going to replace the codes with the 60 FPS cheat instead. So there we go. And there we go. And then we'll just delete that. And now our code is ready to go. So click on Add. And there we go. It has been added in. So now our code is ready to go and we can export it to our USB drive. So just export to PCSX2. That's the only cheat I want available for this one. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and give it a quick test. So here's Need for Speed Underground as it traditionally runs in 30 FPS. You can see my FPS counter up there in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. The game ran 60 FPS in menus, and then in actual gameplay, it was locked to 30 FPS. So now that we have a 60 FPS widescreen cheat available, let's go ahead and go into our quick menu here. So same thing as before, game properties. Right bumper over to our emulation settings page. And now we can enable cheats. And if you so desire, you can also enable, here we go, widescreen patches as well as non-interlacing patches. And now when we start the game up, oops, there we go. You can see it is now running in 60 FPS. It no longer has that 30 FPS limit. So the cheat code has applied and is working. Now, the thing to note about 60 FPS patches, they do increase the game's system requirements quite a bit. So for Need for Speed Underground here, I'm able to run this at a 5x scale, typically, but with the 60 FPS patch enabled, I have to run it at a 3x scale to maintain full 60 FPS. And as you can see, it is still dropping frames. It's not maintaining a locked 60, so it is a much more demanding function of emulation. But it behaves more like the GameCube version in this regard now. The frame rate drops when more traffic and opponents are on screen versus when they are not. So Still much better frame rate than what was previously available, but again, be aware of those system requirement increases if you plan on using patches like this. And of course, you don't have to use cat Pnach Manager to add in 60 FPS codes if you don't want to. You can do the same exact thing inside just normal Pnach files. You can copy the code, open up the text editor, drop the Pnach file in, add in your code name, so 60 FPS, and then you could paste in the code itself. But again, you will need to have the patch equals 1 EE extended stuff added in. So it's pretty easy just to do it like that, in my opinion. And then just paste them into the first field and second field. Just like that. And then make sure to delete the spaces after you're done. And there we go. Then you can just save your Pnach file. And again, to enable or disable the cheats, you just change the patch equals to a 0 to disable them, or make sure it is 1 to have them enabled. Now again, there are a good number of 60 FPS codes available within the PCSX2 thread, but you might find more out on the wider web, so be sure to use Google to look around and find them. But this is a good resource to start with and should get a good chunk of games up and running, but be sure to pay attention to the region codes as always. And with that, you now have the ability to add in any cheat code you desire, be it 60 FPS patches, widescreen patches, no-interlace patches, and just anything you can find and add. Now granted, these methods are mostly used for codes that are in raw format. There are many exotic PS2 code types, but if you rely on gamehacking.org and download their Pnach files, you should get a good deal added in, and then the PCSX2 forums have them in that raw format ready to go. But we're going to go ahead and call it here for this one. As always, I hope this video helps you get your XPSX 2.0 projects up and running to your desires. But here at the end of the video, I do have a couple of big favors to ask. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit that like-dislike button, depending on how much you like today's tutorial, as well as that sub button and notification bell so you can see when new videos go live on the channel. Loads of content always coming your way, and I'd love to have each and every one of you along for the ride. For anyone interested in further helping support the channel and keep it going, you can check out that join button here on YouTube or the Patreon link in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Little goes a long way to keeping this place up and running and bringing all of this content directly to you. Big shout out to all of our current champions. Thank you so much for believing in what we do here and helping us keep it going. You are all the greatest. Thank you so much for supporting us. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome, keep on gaming, and we'll see you back next video.